Stakeholders are going to be a really big part of our course. They're going to come up again and again and again. So we better ask ourselves, what are they? So there is a definition. And so we say all businesses have stakeholder. Well, what's a stakeholder? The first thing to realize is it looks like the word shareholder, right? But that's not what we're talking about. A shareholder is actually an example of a stakeholder, but this is a different thing. And the definition says it is any individual or group that has a direct or vested interest in the activities of the business. So that will include shareholders, but it's going to include a lot of other people because it's any individual or group. What does that mean? It means, so if we take the stakeholders over here, here's the business. It means whatever these people do, these stakeholders, their activities affect the business. And then whatever the business does goes back, and that affects them too. So that's how you know you got a stakeholder. They're affected by the activities of the business, and they also affect it. So let's take an example. Let's say at our school, Kingswood College, we've got parents and students. You are a stakeholder of the school. This school's a business. So your activities affect Kingswood, and Kingswood activities affect you. So let's have a look at the direct or vested interest of parents or students with their school. Well, there's many, but we could say some are for the school to provide a good education, for the school to treat each student fairly and in a way that meets their educational needs, for students to achieve the best possible result in BCE, and for the school to charge reasonable school fees for the education provided. These are your direct or vested interests. Now that's going to make Kingswood react. So let's just say, and we're just making this up, Kingswood's actions for your direct or vested interest are: Year 12 students will attend class from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. every day of the week. So that means more time at school. So you'd think you're going to do better. And the point here is, here's what these stakeholders wanted, parents and students, and here's what the business reacted with. And what we want to realize with this topic is that you're actually not the only stakeholder, parents and students of a school. There's many. Okay? So if we take this action, a school decides that Year 12s will attend class from 8 to 5 every day. That's about 40 hours of class a week. Okay, so much more than we do now. It's going to make a bunch of people happy and unhappy, and they're called stakeholders. So let's go through some. So the customers, which in this case are the parents or the students, are going to be happy. You would think that results will be better if we're at school longer, but you might also be unhappy because, particularly your parents, more time at school means more teachers, means more fees and more school time. Who else might be affected by this? Well, that's a stakeholder. So we could say the school council or the management, so the principal or the headmaster in this case. How would they be affected? Would they be happy because the school would have like a brand image? We're the school that you go to for 40 hours a week if you're in Year 12. And now we can charge higher fees, but they might also be unhappy. Some students and parents might go, no, that's too much school. We're going to take our kids somewhere else. Who else might be affected? Well, the employees, which in this case are the teachers, they're going to be happy because you can teach better. If you're with your students longer, you can teach better, you'll get better VCE results. But teachers are a whinging lot, and yeah, there's going to be a bunch that are unhappy because they're going to have to work longer. They're probably going to ask for a pay rise if they're working more. Who else is going to be affected? What other stakeholders? Well, competitors. So for a school, that's going to be other schools in the area. So they're going to be happy because there's going to be a lot of students and parents who said, no, I want my student to go elsewhere. And also some teachers will probably leave Kingswood and go, I don't want to work that long. So that's good for competitors. They can poach those people. It's going to be bad for them though, because the Kingswood results are probably going to improve. Now, if they improve, that'll probably attract students, and the actual competitor schools might lose students. So it's a discuss question. What's the good and the bad for each action? We could have the local community or society. They're going to be happy. Property values in the area are going to go up because the school's got a good image, but they're going to be unhappy. 8 till 5, well, hang on, all the other kids from Year 7 or 11 are going home at 3. So now the peak hour is going to go for 3 hours. That's going to be a traffic nightmare, so the local community is going to be unhappy. So hopefully you can see the idea that a stakeholder affects a business affects a stakeholder, and there's many stakeholders and they can be affected positively and negatively. Let's just take a real example with customers and Dominos Pizza in the last few years. What do customers want? Well, they're a stakeholder. The direct or vested interest affect Domino's, and likewise Domino's activities affect them. So let's just have a look at what do customers want from a Domino's type pizza. They want a good quality product, but they want a reasonable price. You're not paying $40 for a fancy pizza at Domino's. You may be at a restaurant, but not here. And they want the product delivered as quickly as possible. What else are their direct or vested interests? They want to be able to order easily online or via the app, and they want to be able to track their order via the GPS. What's the action? How does Domino's respond? Well, they responded with a few things. They said, we're going to have $5 standard pizzas, just for the main standard ones, not the fancy gourmet ones. They said, we've got a 15-minute delivery guarantee or free pizza. So I think you pay maybe an extra $3 for that. And if it doesn't come within 15 minutes, you get a free pizza. And they got this Dom robot. It's a robot that takes a picture of your pizza as it's coming out of the oven so you can see it before it arrives. So that's pretty cool. But the point is, a business reacted. It's got an action here. Who are the stakeholders that are affected and how are they affected? Well, the stakeholder that we spoke about was customers. They're very happy, cheaper pizza. But they might be also even happier that they're going to get faster delivery or a free pizza. There's no real negatives here for customers. They win in this case. I can't really think of anything that they would be unhappy with this. What about franchise owners? They're the people that run the Domino's pizzas at the actual restaurants, the stores. They're very happy, potential for more sales, but they might be very unhappy in the sense that, geez, a $5 pizza, you're not making much of a profit on that. You're going to have to really lower costs. We got the board of directors, which is a group it's hard for us to understand what they are and what they do, but we'll get to them eventually. But we could say they're going to be happy because there's going to be more sales. More people are going to buy pizzas from Domino's, more sales. But they're also going to be unhappy because it's probably going to be a lower profit per pizza. Board of directors are accountable to the shareholders, so yeah, lower profits are not good. Employees, unhappy. I mean, for a $5 pizza, you're not going to be getting paid much if you work at Domino's. There's going to be pressure to lower wages. And also this one, the 15-minute delivery guarantee, that's from the start of the order. There's going to be a lot of pressure on workers to work faster. We've got the competitors. So like Pizza Hut, for example, just your local pizza chain, very unhappy with this. Loss of customers to Domino's, particularly customers that aren't that concerned with quality. They just want a quick pizza. Well, you're going to go to Domino's. So the competitors are going to be unhappy. And also, to keep customers, the competitors are probably going to have to lower prices. So, what have we learned? Well, stakeholders have a direct or vested interest in the business. Okay, they affect the business affects them. And what we're going to do is just sort of break them into 3 levels of the environment. We're going to have the macro environment, we're going to have the government, the local community or society. Then we'll have the operating environment, which is customers, suppliers, competitors, creditors or banks. And then we've got the internal environment, which is shareholders or owners, the board of directors, the management, and the employees. Now, we actually don't need to know this bit. So if we have to describe each of these levels of environment, we don't need to know this. This is just to help us think and place things in a structure. Okay, so what's the macro environment? Well, that's the broad factors which affect all businesses within the economy. What's the operating environment? Well, they're the sort of factors, they're external to the business and they affect just the businesses in our industry. And then the internal environment are the factors within the business itself. Okay, and then what we say, we can sort of distinguish these by saying, well, the business has no control over these ones. These ones are the government and the local community. You can't control what the government does as a business. You can't control how the local society or community is going to react. The operating environment, you have a little bit, maybe, but probably little to no control over these factors. What can't you control? You can't really control what your customers want and demand. You can't really control what your suppliers do. You can't control what competitors do or creditors and banks. You can maybe a little bit, okay? But then we've got the internal environment, and that's where the business has some control over these factors. What are we talking about? The shareholders, the board of directors, the employees, and the management. The business has much more control over those. So don't get too stressed about these levels of environment. I guess we just want to think that these are different. They're in different groups because a business's ability to control its employees as a stakeholder is much higher than it can over its customers or the government, over which you have little to no control.